area of a cylinder. Now a cylinder, remember, it's a 3D shape. It's got a circle at the top and bottom, and it's a prism. So it's like a circular prism, but we call it a cylinder. Now they can be a couple of different types. We can have an open cylinder, which has no lids. So think of something like a pipe, which is got that cylindrical wall, but nothing at the top or bottom. Or it could be closed. That might be something like a can of veggies, or tin veggies or something, where you've got a lid at the top and a lid at the bottom. Okay, now when we're considering the surface area, obviously this top and bottom, we need to consider the area of those and include it in our area calculation. Remember, for a 3D shape, we can lay it out flat. Like if we trimmed around some of the edges and laid it out flat, we can create a 2D representation of the surface area, which we call a net. So if we can work out the area of this net, then we can work out the surface area of the cylinder. It's made up of a few pieces. I've got this circular bit here corresponds to this circular top here. And the area of a circle we know is pi r squared. So if I know the radius of this cylinder from the middle to the edge, I can calculate the area of that top lid. Okay. It's got the same thing again, this time on the bottom. So I've got this circular area here, which corresponds to this circle on the bottom. So once again, I know the area of that is pi r squared. All right, those bits are pretty easy to calculate if we've got a radius. But what about this bit? What about this wall, this rectangular shape? Because if I took, I don't know, imagine this was a can of veggies or something. If I took the label off and laid it out flat, so if I snipped it down the middle here and laid it out flat, I'd end up with this rectangle. But what are the dimensions of this rectangle? That's what we want to try and work out. Now, if I took this circle, right, which is the circumference of this thing, it's the same length as this side, isn't it? Like the label has to go from one point right around and back to the start. So if I can work out the circumference of the circle, that gives me this length here. The height of the rectangle corresponds to this bit here. Okay, so if I'm given the height of the cylinder and its radius, I should have enough to work out what I need. So I want to work out the area of this rectangle, right, which is going to be the circumference of the circle times the height of the can. Now I know that the circumference formula is pi times diameter, pi d. So the rectangle will be pi d times h. But I can take the d and I can change that to 2 radiuses, which ends up giving me 2 pi r. So 2 radiuses times pi. So instead of pi times d, I've got pi times 2r. And I've just rearranged that times the height of the can. And now I've got a little formula for each of my 3 pieces of my circle. Put them all together, which you don't have to do this every time. All you need to know is that creates for us this formula. The surface area of a cylinder equals 2 pi r squared, because I've got 2 circles, both of which are pi r squared, so 2 of them, plus the rectangular wall, which is 2 pi r h. That's given to you in your HSC formula sheet. Now you just got to know how to use it. One thing to watch though, depends on the question. If you've got an open cylinder, then we don't have this bit, which is the 2 pi r squared. We don't have the lids. Okay, because that part of the formula corresponds to these 2 circular pieces. So if it's an open cylinder, then we just scratch that part out. And all we use from the formula is the 2 pi r h, because we're just going to work out this piece here. Let's look at an example. I've got a closed cylinder that has a radius of 3 centimeters and a height of 10. That's all the information I need to work out the surface area, because I've got the formula. It's 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. I now just simply substitute my values in. My r is 3, my h is 10. And here's a little tip. Instead of putting this all into your calculator as is with the pi symbols, leave the pi until the very end. Do all the numbers first. So this bit becomes 9, 2 times 9 is 18. This bit becomes 3 times 10 times 2, gives me 60 pi. Add them together, I've now got 78 pi, and I can just do that now at the very end in my calculator. 78 times pi gives me 245. Don't forget though, we have to put in the units at the end. Alright, great job you guys.